Testing, testing, testing. Hi everyone, welcome to HackTube. I'm Jared. Thanks for joining me today. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you for supporting HackTube. This is our second video in our HackTube series, and thanks for joining us. So before I begin, I'd like to begin with a quick introduction about myself. I'm a Year 3 Business and Computing student from NTU, and today I'm glad to be able to host HackTube with you. And before I begin, I'd like to share with you some of my hackathon experiences so that you can understand why you can understand my tips and advice for you when you go on to hopefully win your next hackathon. So I'll just list down to you a couple of hackathons that I've joined and some of which are which I've won. So the first one would be I managed to place champions for Code to Connect by Bank of America, Codathon by Code for Asia, Digital Challenge by Estee Lauder, and Accounting Innovation Challenge by the Big Four accounting firms in Singapore. And I've also clinched first runner-up in Paradigm Shift by DBS, Circles.hack by Circles.life, the Smart Bus Challenge by LTA, as well as Code Extremes Apps by IMTA. So today I'd like to share with you my curated tips for you to hopefully win your next hackathon. And without further ado, allow me to begin. So first of all, this will be a very structured video. We will be talking about a couple of different things, which I've categorized them into 7 different categories. First of all is an overview of why join a hackathon, team forming, expectations, some strategy, as well as rubrics that you should pay attention to. And next would be ideation, brainstorming, identifying the weaknesses in current solutions, which is also known as competitive analysis, as well as identifying the USP, which is a unique selling point of your product, as well as crafting a compelling story and name for your solution. So third would be business, market potential, revenue, market opportunities, any research that you have done, as well as the benefits that your product will bring, as well as some financial modeling which you can do to help you further your case of substantiating that this is a financially sustainable product that you are trying to propose. And fourth would be your feasibility, strategy, timeline, as well as some pointers about diversity and accessibility. Fifth would then be the tech stack. What are some rapid prototyping tools that you can use, and what are some innovative things that you can do to help you boost your product's standing in a hackathon. Six would be how you present, how you polish your product, and how do you come up with a compelling deck, some video recordings, and so on and so forth. And last would be some other pointers which didn't fit into the previous 6 categories. And those are some things that they're just a couple of random tips that I hopefully that you will hopefully be able to understand and also take away as well. So I shall begin. First, on why you should join a hackathon, team forming, some expectations, strategy, as well as rubrics. So just very briefly, why should you join a hackathon? So a hackathon allows you to have real life experience to code, as well as to collab and to understand some problems which arise in real life, and also propose great solutions to hopefully overcome these problems. And it's a great learning opportunity whether you eventually win it or not. So I would strongly encourage you to join one. And a hackathon essentially also allows you sometimes to have to get a fast track application for your internships at the company which is hosting the hackathon. And this was how I got into Bank of America. This was how I got a summer internship placing with the bank by participating and placing first in their hackathon. So hopefully this serves as some inspiration for you as well. And next would be expectations. So allow me to give you a rough introduction to hackathons. So for hackathons, there are many different types of hackathons. So many vary in terms of the time, the nature, the domain, the difficulty. And this is something that you can bear in mind when you select what kind of hackathons that you like to try to win. So for the time, hackathons are usually held from just a couple of hours, which was the one that Bank of America held, to even a couple of days or like 48 hours, for which is the pretty much the norm, at least here in Singapore, and some even go on to be stretched out for several months on end as well. But of course, there are like demo days in between, or like workshops in between that you should probably attend as well. So that isn't really a sprint, but that is kind of a marathon. Whereas most, if not all, most other hackathons generally are sprints that you just sprint for, let's say, a few hours or 48 hours, and you try to come up with a compelling product. You try to solve creatively a problem which the problem statement which they might give to you, and this is something that you can bear in mind as well. And of course, something that you can bear in mind as well is your the probability of you winning a hackathon. If you join a hackathon that is organized by big brand names such as Facebook and Google, chances are many other people are going to vie for that as well. So I would think that in my personal experience, the chances of you winning a hackathon that is organized by a huge company, it tends to get lower simply because there are so many more people joining and participating in the hackathon. So if you like to start small, or if you like to experience a different kind of hackathon, be sure to look out for the smaller ones, even though yeah, and these can be great stepping stones for you to grasp and for you to learn as well how you can approach a hackathon better in the future. So this is something that are coders. And honestly, as much as many hackathon organizers would say that, oh, it's totally fine, you don't need to be able to code, I would think that you can increase your chances by a great amount should you be able to code out a prototype that demonstrates your idea versus another team which doesn't. So bear this in mind when you're forming your team. Of course, you should probably try to meet new people as well, try to network with other people, the other participants joining hackathons, and who knows, you might be able to um, you might be able to make friends, and if they are agreeable, you can also join hackathons in the future with them as well. So that is that. And I would suggest at least 3 people in the team, and this is the ideal team composition, which is very, very commonly used, and that is hacker, hustler, as well as uh, I'm sorry, I don't remember the third one, but basically you need to have someone who is able to code. You need someone who is able to design the product well, to sell it as well, to design the product well, and lastly, someone who is able to sell it. So you probably need someone who is good at coding, as well as another person who is good at selling as well. So I'll cover this in detail later, but to me, a hackathon is really one part tech and one part business. So it's not to say that, oh, you've got the great people who can code out a product, but if you are unable to sell it, there is really no point in being able to sway the judges to yours to choosing your solution as the final winning product. So next would also be strategy. What are you aiming for when you join a hackathon? Um, are you joining it to vie for the top position, or are you joining it to vie for a special category award? So, for example, if you're vying for an environmentally friendly award, of course, your solution should be tweaked and angled in that perspective so that it increases your chances of winning. So, some hackathons, they have these special categories, and that is something that you can pay attention to when you join these hackathons. Basically, be strategic. If you are going to vie for something, make sure that whatever you say, whatever you present, whatever you record, or whatever you show the judges actually demonstrates that perspective. So this is something that you can focus on. And of course, another thing is always focus on the rubrics. Chances are many hackathons, they do have judging criteria. For example, oh, 15% innovation, and then 30%, let's say, diversity and accessibility, and the remaining on whether it is economically viable. So these are the things that you should prioritize, and depending on the percentage of the different components, these weights are basically how you should devote your time in prioritizing. Yep. So it's you may think that it's contrived, but I think this is a great strategy for you to be laser focused on what you want to achieve, so that you can achieve your maximum results using the least amount of effort as well. And this will also enable you to have a rough idea of how the hackathon is like. So say a hackathon claims that, oh, this is just an ideation hackathon. That means a hackathon which just encourages people to come up with ideas and not necessarily code them out. But if you take a look at their assessment criteria, then let's say a working prototype constitutes, say, 60% of the judging criteria, then of course you would need to be better prepared to have these your tech ready and to be able to come up with a compelling prototype that the judges can actually use or see or witness. So remember to follow the rubrics. Okay. And last but not least is, of course, preparation. If you are in a hackathon without good coding skills, or without knowing a specific framework that allows you to be able to understand that to be able to create a good technological product, chances are you're not going to do well, because hackathon is really short. There's only so much that you can learn and thereafter apply and create at the same time. So I would really suggest that if you're not good at your technical skills, in your coding skills, and if you're the coder in your team, you most probably should focus on honing your skill, and then creating and then being able to create something great in a very short period of time. So remember, the battle is won before it is fought. Yep. So you need to ensure that you have a great team, like someone who can sell, someone who can code, before you can enter the hackathon. Because I would think that if you don't ensure these, then I would think that the battle is already, you've already lost half the battle, basically. Yep. So these are just some things that you can reflect on. And for those of you who have just joined us, thank you for joining us again. Before I move on to the next section, again, if you have got any questions, feel free to utilize the live chat. I'll do my best to respond to all of your questions. And if you have got any other questions, you can also feel free to email us at ntuoss@gmail.com, and I'll be sure to reply as well. So thank you for joining us again. So the next part, the second part of this video, I'll be talking about ideation. So that involves things such as brainstorming, identifying the weaknesses in current solutions, as well as also crafting a unique selling point for your product, and lastly, crafting a compelling story and name. So first of all, brainstorming. I would recommend you to use this brainstorming tool. You can just open up Google and do a quick search now. It's called Design Sprint Resource Kit. Design Sprint Resource Kit. So this allows you to have your team huddle together and within a very short amount of time, brainstorm about ideas, brainstorm about problems even, and to democratically vote for something which your team feels that, hey, this is a great problem, this is a great solution which we want to propose, and let's do this and get our hands dirty. So I'm not able to share with you a step-by-step guide on how you can do this right now, but this is something that you can try. So the rough process, I'll just briefly describe the process of this design sprint. So a design sprint basically allows you to brainstorm for ideas and solutions in a very short amount of time. So this involves identifying the domain of your problem, also known as a problem space. So this is typically related to the theme of a hackathon, for example, or a specific problem statement that the organizers have created, for example. So as an example, it can be things such as, create a brand new website for NTU for students to be able to register their courses. This is your domain. This is your problem space. So that is where you should operate within, and this is where you should brainstorm your ideas regarding. So we just do a quick one, and then after have everyone in your team write down on post-its as many as possible some ideas which you like to propose, and after 10 minutes, for example, have everyone vote for at least 5 of these ideas, and then you tally the votes, and then the solution which has the most number of votes is obviously democratically voted as the solution which you guys should be focusing on. So it's a quick process, and it is indeed contrived, but it does help your team focus. It does help your team not this is something very useful that I usually ask my team members to do with me, and generally can be completed in within say 30 minutes. Yep. Because if you get this right, if you get the problem right, if you get your direction right, this sets a good foundation for your entire team to operate during this period of time. So other than that, it'll be a unique selling point. So unique selling point would be what makes your solution special. This can be something that is briefly summarized as follows. What makes you so special compared to other products out there? What what is the thing that is new that you're bringing to the table? So this is something that your team also needs to huddle, and also to determine what you like to sell as your unique selling point as well. So this basically allows you to angle your project in a way that, oh, here is something new that we're doing that no one else has done before, and this is the key benefit that we want to bring to real life. And of course, identifying what gap there is in the market in the first place, it helps you differentiate yourself compared to your competitors. And lastly, telling a compelling story. Um, have a good idea of how you want to um, sell your story. So usually it would be best if it's a personal story. So for example, say NTU once organizes a hackathon on building a great website. So you can talk about can't find anything, or that, oh, the links are broken or what. And thus this bothers me, and this is something that I am personally um, um, I have a personal stake in this, and this is something I relate to, and this is something that I would like to create a solution to solve. And this is how you craft a compelling story. So this is roughly about the start of the hackathon. How do you come up with a good foundation for your hackathon? And this is what helps you set your team in the right direction moving forward. Okay, so the next part would be business. How do you sell your idea? What are the economics behind this? So this involves things such as identifying the market potential of your product. How big is the market? Just do a quick Google search, or what are the various different market opportunities out there? What are the various trends that you really have identified? Oh, for example, oh, there's a rise in AI, and then like there's a trend for small and medium enterprises to want to embrace this. So this is something that is in your favor if you want to come up with a solution that uses artificial intelligence, for example. So this is something that you can additionally angle your product towards. And of course, this involves research, and then do a quick summary of the key benefits, like, oh, what are the cost savings? What are the hour savings, or what is the potential increase in profit or revenue for the company that can implement your product, for example. And of course, think about what is the pricing model as well. What is behind, how much does it cost for your customers to purchase your solution, for example, or is it free? If it's free, who is financing it? Are you using ads? Is this a B2B model that you ask other companies to pay you money for using their product, for example? So these are some things that you can share about, and it gives you an edge over the rest, because this is something that you should think about, like its feasibility. you can create something that is very, very expensive, but if no one is going to buy it, then that sadly isn't a good product. Yeah. So another point on feasibility would also be diversity and accessibility as well. So this is the trend that I've noticed, that many hackathons are now focusing more on diversity and accessibility. So what constitutes your team, for example? Are you guys all males are you all males from a single school, for example? And how accessible is your solution? Is this is your solution accessible to people who might have disabilities? Like, can the colorblind use your app if your UI is color coded and only the colors can help your users determine where to visit, which portions of your app? So these are some things that you can bear in mind. And again, refer to the rubrics, and this will give you a rough idea of how you can approach that. And of course, for tech-wise, you can come up with some prototyping tool. You can use some prototyping easily, and you can talk about some innovative features as well, some future extensions which you can talk about as well. Yep. And I guess there's not much to cover for tech, because I would suggest that you can be acquainted with some things that you're already familiar with. So for example, are you trying to build a working prototype from scratch? Oh, maybe you can like tap on some web frameworks to understand it. No one can understand it. Then that sadly isn't able to help you to sell your idea well. So you need to think about these kind of things and as well. So the last part would be that would be some personalized some other advice for you. So I would suggest that you can talk about the team in your presentation. At least give some story behind the faces behind the creators behind the product, as well as how you should most probably try to attend more hackathons to learn from the best, and how you can most importantly enjoy the journey of a hackathon as it takes you through hopefully better realization of the problems around you, or like helps you hone your creative problem solving skills and so on. So hopefully these tips will be able to help you um, these tips will be able to help you secure and better have a better framework to be able to craft your solution when you join the next hackathon. So again, this is a very better framework to be able to craft your solution when you join the next hackathon. So again, this is a very rough summary of joining hackathons. That's all for now, and I'll be here for another 5 more minutes until 7:35 p.m. And yeah, feel free to ask me any questions if you have. If not, thank you for joining us on this short but hopefully enlightening video for you, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.